Hey, Marion.
Good morning, Travis. How are you?
I'm good. How are you today, sir?
Great. I hope you've had a good day.
Yes, sir. It has been. Just been busy serving, getting food bags ready and packing buses ready to send the meals out for the kids. So, uh, food coming. So it's a great service. Glad to be part of it, and good crew back there working with me this morning.
Good. It really is. Are most of the people your cafeteria workers, or who's working?
We do have food service folks working back there in the kitchen part, but good many of our volunteers are staff members here who are helping, and then our bus riders is kind of a mix across the district of different folks, and then second shift kind of food prep 10 to 3 just came in, and then Mr. Freitag just came in and took over for me, so I could meet with you. So I finished up my 6 to 11 shift, and he does the 11 to 3. So
Good deal. That's great. That's great. Good.
well, thanks so much for agreeing to join us. And I hate that we missed to be able to do this in person in March with our All Pro Dad, and now we've kind of missed. I think last Thursday was supposed to be our All Pro Dad breakfast for April. So, uh,
Yes.
and kind of during this time of the school closures, I'm sure a lot of things that the kids look forward to, they're missing out on. And I know our school district and you and all our teachers are trying to do their best to kind of keep it normal as much as possible in this virtual world. So what are some things I know you are maybe for our audience, folks that are going to be watching this that may not know you, maybe some of the parents or some of the kids may not know who you are. You want to tell us a little bit about you personally, and then maybe your career.
Sure. Again, my name is Marion Lawson. I am in my 32nd year in education. All of that time, except for my first year, have been here in Pickens County. I'm a Pickens County graduate. I finished at Easley back in the early 80s. Finished at Furman uh, as an undergraduate and as a graduate as a with my master's degree. And I was principal at Dacusville Middle School back in 1998, and until spring of 2000, I went to Pickens High School after that and was principal there for 16 years. And this year I'm teaching sixth grade world history at Pickens Middle School. I never thought I served as assistant superintendent for the district for 3 years. And I always thought at the end of my career I would love to go back in the classroom, and so I had that opportunity and took it. And I never, at the same time, I never thought, Mr. Chapman, I never thought that I would be an online, virtual, internet-based school teacher.
Yeah.
And so my students laugh at me because when I learn something new about Schoology or WebEx I'm doing a WebEx lesson and put in a PowerPoint or whatever. I mean, I mess with them and I just say, the old dog's learning some new tricks. So
That's right.
it's been a great blessing to be in those various capacities and working with thousands of students and parents through the years, and that's just a wonderful opportunity that I've had.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know I've shared this with you before about we kind of have some things in common being social studies teachers. And I spent a good bit of my career teaching at the middle school level and teaching sixth grade world history and seventh grade
Yes,
geography and world history, and then eighth grade South Carolina history. Taught all
yes,
three of those for a while. And so I know we have that love of social studies together. And
sir.
I've always said kind of the same thing. I'm a few years away from, I guess, a little more than a few, about 10 years away from, I guess, when you can actually retire if at the 28-year mark. I've got
Right.
18 years in, but I've always kind of said the same thing that I love teaching, love the students and the connection that you get when you're directly responsible for them, and would love the opportunity toward the end of my career to go back in the classroom. So I look to you as an inspiration of someone who's
Yes, sir.
doing it. And so, what's been the best part about going back into the classroom?
Again, I think just the day-to-day interaction with the students. I could argue. I've never, Mr. Chapman, I've never liked paperwork. although ironically, I've had to do it, for 26 years as an administrator, but I never liked it. I would much rather deal with people. And so, a good byproduct, my email went from 75 to 100 a day.
Yes.
Now, if I get 8 or 9, it's a busy day. But that's just a trivial thing. But the thing I like most about it is getting to know the students and being able to work with them and work with their families. I mean, and coming through the system as an administrator in Pickens County, and now being back in the classroom, a lot of my students that I have now are students of students that I had when I was principal at Pickens, or as an assistant principal or teacher at Easley High. So that being able to know them already has been very good, and then being able to help the kids. I mean, it's just to watch them. They're so different now than they used to be because of these devices.
Right.
Uh, I have found that they spend much more time um, looking at things like that and doing things like that than reading. Then they're quick to say, "I'm bored."
Mm-hmm.
Um, okay, that's fine. We're not here to make you not bored. And throughout history, from boredom have come some tremendous achievements, some tremendous inventions. And so, and the learning specialists say, you ought to be a little bit bored to be creative. But all those things are challenging, as one who's really kind of seen it from both sides. That part of it, being able to excite students about history and have them realize, why is it important? It may not necessarily be as important that you know this particular date or this particular event, but how do these things relate?
Mm-hmm.
That's been a lot of fun for me to kind of, with sixth graders, they're inquisitive. They're not yet to the point that they say or they think they know it all. And so that, and because they hit that, eighth, ninth grade, that they get that little edge on them. But it's been good to have that interaction with them and to be able to help. I've had some parents who've contacted me and needed some help, and that's been so positive, and so I'm very thankful that God's opened this door.
Yeah. That's awesome. We're, here at Dacusville Elementary, we have something called the Positivity Project. It's a
Yes.
national kind of organization and group that we kind of jumped on the last 2 years. Really like the way they laid out the character ed curriculum and the 24 character strengths that they talk about a lot. And so each week we kind of go through one of those, and it's kind of that overarching theme of other people matter, and kind of that putting others first, and has a lot to do with servant, being, kind of having a servant heart, being kind. All of those things are in there. So this particular week we're talking about purpose. Um,
Uh,
and meaning, and share with our folks. I'm keeping the morning announcements videoed and sending those out each day to our parents so that we can recognize kids and I can interact with them. But I know for me, I feel like I'm living out my purpose as an educator. I was about 17, 18 when I took teacher cadets and decided this was the path that I felt God was calling me to.
yep.
And so every day I feel like I'm getting to live out that purpose. And for me, it was about impact. I want to be able to impact as many lives for the positive, for the good as I can. And that's kind of the way I had to look at it, going from the classroom to an administrator. As a classroom teacher, yourself, you're directly involved with the students. And then as an administrator, you're kind of more indirectly going through the teachers. And I had to that was hard an adjustment for me at first, because I missed the kids so much. But I have to think about it now as like, if I can have a positive impact on the culture of a school, on the folks that I hire or the people that we work with at the school, they're going to have a greater impact on more kids. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at now. And I know that you feel that you're living out your purpose as well and have done so. And I know you've made an impact on a lot of kids' lives, and a lot of folks in this community speak very highly of you, and for good reasons. And we're talking about this morning with one of the workers back there, was just how much I think she attends church with you and how much she thinks of you. And so I appreciate all that you have done over your career as an educator and administrator. So kind of want to jump into our topic. Well, before I do, here's a little icebreaker. What's been the best thing that's happened for you personally since schools have been closed and we've been under quarantine?
Um, Really, it's very interesting that you would say what you just talked about with purpose and in my situation, having had two medical issues, one in 2014 with a massive heart attack and 4 bypasses, and then in 2016 having 2 strokes. I'm no better than anybody else. I'm saved, and that is the most important quality about Marion Lawson, is my relationship to God through His Son Jesus Christ. But related to purpose, I am also very keenly aware of why I'm here, and I'm here only because He's left me here. Because statistically, both times, 92 to 94% chance of dying, and I didn't. I didn't know anything about it. I was in a coma both times, and so I am very aware of my purpose here, and that's to help people. Whatever I can do, and so as assistant superintendent, I was able to, and now getting to go back in the classroom, I am very aware. I didn't even tell my students about any of this till after Christmas, just because I wanted to get in there with them and do with them and that kind of stuff. And at the same time, knowing that purpose, but now in this quarantine, online virtual environment, to me, the greatest thing about that, and I just have to be honest with you, and this, this is all pro dads. And so
Right.
as a dad, I have 3 children. One 27-year-old who's married and got 2 grandchildren, living in Somerville. He's assistant pastor of students there at Somerville Baptist. Daughter's a 2nd grade teacher at Croswell Elementary in Easley. Her husband is a student pastor in Pickens. My youngest son, Sam, is a junior at North Greenville. The greatest thing about this quarantine situation is he's home. He's been home now for about 3.5 weeks, and will be home throughout the summer. And he said, Daddy, I'd like for us to have a garden. I'd like to learn from you. So we've got a garden, and we're spending hours together every day. And as a 54, and if I get emotional, you forgive me, but as a 54-year-old daddy who's got a 20-year-old son, and that 20-year-old son wants to spend time with me, and I get this opportunity before I get too old or before whatever, to get to spend 4 or 5 months with my 20-year-old, man, as an all-pro dad. I want to be an all-pro dad, but you can be an all-pro dad by, number one, having your relationship right with God, and then number 2, being the dad that your children need, being the husband that your wife needs, and being the man that the community needs, because we're not all dads, but being the man that the community needs and your church needs. So those are so that I don't know if you plan that or not, but yet that purpose thought that you're working on right now goes right into this all pro dad thinking, and then with forgiveness as our study for the month. I mean, that's just, it's all related. But as a father, that is just such a blessing to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. My children are 11, 12, and 14. And so having that time at home with the schedules are normally very busy with athletics and dance and going here and going there, that you kind of get the hustle and bustle, it's slowed down. And so to be able to spend more time at home, and this is time that I'm trying to use wisely and not
Yeah,
uh,
that's
not
right.
not look back on it and have regrets with that time. So um, but like you said, our topic, I appreciate you sharing all of that and with us. And but our topic, as you mentioned, is forgiveness this month. And so just got a couple of questions I want to go through and ask you and get your thoughts on it as you share with our dads and in our community. I want to thank our dads who are watching this and who are sharing this. Being in a digital format, obviously we can share it, and more folks, maybe the impact will be, as we talk about impact, maybe even greater, because more people will be able to see it than would be able to come to one of our meetings. But um, what does forgiveness actually mean to you personally?
Um, Again, Mr. Chapman, I know that this is all pro dads, and so knowing that, and having read, I don't know Tony Dungy personally, but having read a lot of his stuff, the understanding and the parameter, I might say, of working with all pro dads is that it's fine to share our faith. And so
Yes, sir.
forgiveness begins with grace. You know, God has given us as human beings grace, and He's extended that grace to us through His Son Jesus Christ, who uh, who wants a relationship with us, and He wants a relationship with us. And in order to have that, we've got to ask forgiveness because I hope I've been a good whatever principal or whatever it happens to be, but I'm nothing without that forgiveness of my sins. And so forgiveness starts with God's grace, and He allows us to have a relationship with Him. And then for a person, you and I have known each other and been colleagues and uh, um, friends for years, but I can't have a relationship with you if my relationship with God is not right. And so, and sometimes I'm a human being, and so are you. And I promise you, if you and I work together long enough, I will let you down in some way, and I will have to ask forgiveness for something I've done, for something I've omitted, for something you wanted me to do and I didn't do, or something I did that just was not your idea. And so we have to have that same attitude of being willing to forgive one another so we can have a good relationship with each other. And I think to me, the biggest thing about forgiveness on a human level is that number one, we've got to be willing to ask forgiveness, and we've got to be able and willing to give forgiveness. We've got to, otherwise we can't have a relationship. And I've been around 54 years, and there are very few people that I just don't get along with. So I don't deal with them. There's three or four people, and I try. I've asked forgiveness, and if I've done something to hurt your feelings or hurt you, or please forgive me. If you still don't, okay, then I'm just going to not deal with you. But that's part of forgiveness. You got to be willing to talk to people. You have to be willing to say, look, I'm sorry. I messed up. I blew it. I let you down. I apologize. Let me let me make this right for you, so so we can deal with each other. So forgiveness is a huge part of our lives.
Absolutely. I had on here, I know, what was the worst thing you ever did as a kid that you had to ask for forgiveness for? But I know some of those things we don't want to go back through and talk about. They were so bad, but we've all done that as a kid and had to ask for forgiveness, and I think it's important, and you kind of mentioned on that, being a father and having grown children here that are adult age now, as dads, um, it, we have to ask for forgiveness as well. And so I kind of wanted to say, or ask you, can you talk a little bit more about that? I know sometimes it's hard. And I know some of us, maybe dads that are watching this, your dad may not have been someone who asked for forgiveness, or may not have been someone who apologized or to their kids. And so I personally believe that that is okay and that is expected as a model for my kids. Several times I've had to go to them and apologize for maybe how I handled something or getting angry with them when I was disappointed with something. But maybe talk a little bit about that. Why you think maybe it's hard for dads to ask for forgiveness with their kids?
Sure. I think with our family, uh, similarly to with our professional life, whatever we do, whatever our occupation is, wherever we work, it is often hard to ask forgiveness, and I think it's because when we ask forgiveness, we have to first be in a position where our pride is dropped a little bit. In other words, I can't be so stubbornly, and I'm sitting up and poking my neck back. I mean, so stubbornly proud that I would be unbending and unwilling to seek somebody's forgiveness. Um, and that comes from a, a sense of pride. And there's nothing wrong with being proud.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with being proud of yourself and being proud of your children and all that stuff. But when my pride gets in the way and makes me unwilling to say, Travis, you're my friend, please forgive me because I did this or I didn't do that, then I've let that feeling influence my life and may cost me my not all of it maybe, but part of my relationship with whomever that is. And so as a dad, sometimes it's difficult for a dad to say, look, I messed up. I was a little hasty here. I didn't get this done. We're not here, whatever it happens to be. And that's that there again, it's we sometimes think that we want our children to have whatever the expectation level of us is. And if we feel like we didn't get there, we may be so tied up with our stubbornness that we won't ask forgiveness. But it's okay. It is, and again, that I don't want to go back to keep going back to my two health events, but my children saw me at my lowest point. Uh, there was, I mean, when the doctor tells them, talk to your daddy, we don't know if he can understand you. We don't know if he'll come out of this. We don't know if he's going to live, but you talk to him. That is a very, very humbling thing for me. It's very scary for them. And so as a dad, even after that was over, I went back both times and I told my children, I said, y'all, I'm sorry that I put you through that. I'm glad it was me and not you. I'd rather it be me than not you. I'm sorry I put you through that. And so from that kind of sorry to, I'm sorry I yelled at you prematurely. I mean, because sometimes we, you know, my children would tease me, and yours may too, about using my principal voice.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes that happens. But to say, this I love you so much that I am willing to take the step of saying, I'm sorry. And that is tough because all of our families are different. Every dad has different situations at their current home. Every dad has different situations from their upbringing. And so I believe we have to start right where we are and fix all we can fix, ask forgiveness for what we can't fix. And if it's past, we ask forgiveness, and we try to make things better in the future. In other words, if I did not have a good upbringing or a good home situation, that doesn't mean that I have to have a negative home situation now. I can be the all pro dad that God wants me to be, and supportive and loving for my children, my family, and make it right now. And that is so very important and something that I think we really need to focus on in society as a whole, because that will make us, there's so much junk going on now, obviously with the COVID-19 virus, but in our society, if we don't agree with each other, we're automatically labeled as enemies. There's no forgiveness there. We've got to think about our purpose, as you mentioned a while ago, and then focus on how we can interact with each other in a positive way, so we can do well for ourselves and our family.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good word right there. You mentioned your 20-year-old son being at home and wanting to spend time with you,
Yes,
and I can't help but think that about to all of our dads who are watching this, regardless of how old your kids are. Your youngest is 20, my oldest is 14, and but at some point in time, I want to be in that same situation where my kids are older and grown, and they're coming back and wanting to spend time with me, not because I'm giving them the guilt trip of, I don't know how long I got, and
right.
your mom and I are getting old. I don't want to do that and guilt them to come. I want them to want to come. And I really, truly think, how we treat our kids, whether our kids know that we love them, how we show that with our words and actions. But um, we're not going to get this thing right all the time. Like you said, we are humans and we're going to make a lot of mistakes. But the fact that you were willing to humble yourself and not let pride get in the way, to be able to tell your kids that you were sorry or ask forgiveness for them, kind of it helps to build that bond to where they want to come back and spend time with you. They see that as a model. And then, again, I think as all pro dads, what we want to be is hopefully for our kids, and especially our sons that become fathers, that we set a good example for them. And for our daughters, I have a daughter, and you have daughters. So for our daughters, we hope that they see in us the characteristics that they want in a spouse when they
Yes.
grow up, and how they should be treated. And so
Yes.
I appreciate the fact that you live that out in your home and put God first, and kind of prioritize the right way. And for being able to share some things with me today and with our audience about forgiveness. Extremely important topic, and you hit on so many good things. I didn't get to the questions because you had so much good information in your answer. So again, I appreciate your time
Yes,
and
sir.
and being willing to come on here and do this virtually. We're gonna try this, and my hope now is that I can take it from this format and in this recording and get it put out there in a way that's easy for people to access. So
Good. Well, yeah, and this is new stuff. I mean, it's new technology, and that's great. Well, and I would ask you, thank you for letting me share, and Dacusville Elementary dads, thank you all for what you're doing. The during these odd times, our children look to us to simply say it's going to be okay. And that is so very important. I mean, and thank you all dads for doing that. And you with sons, tremendous. But as you just mentioned, Mr. Chapman, do not forget those of you who have daughters, because those girls, they need their daddies, and they need their daddies to love them and to take care of them and be a good influence. And so, thank you for letting me share. And I'm not sure how it's going to look either, but whenever you send a link or whatever you do, send me a copy if you will, so I can because I'm learning this stuff too. So thank you.
This is great, and I greatly appreciate it, and it's going to be awesome. Going to impact a lot of folks. We'll just keep our fingers crossed that we can get the technology to work for us. It's working now if we can just get it in the right format. But I'll share that with you. And dads, again, we may not be able to meet again, in person this school year. We may do another All Pro Dad with a virtually like this before the end of the school year. And then we are working on plans for next year to do kind of a kickoff. But of course, we got to wait and see what the guidelines are going to be when school opens back up and when we put this on. Many of our dads, if you're watching, I just wanted to say thank you as well. We've got a lot of dads. I have to mention Mr. Christopher Clark and Mr. Kyle Bishop, who are dads at our school, and they help me do this all the time. They pick up food when we do it at the school and get the PowerPoints ready and all this kind of stuff. So just huge help. We've had lots of sponsors. For food, prizes, all those kinds of things, we've really done well this year. So I want to thank our dads, and there several of you, your companies have sponsored us. So we really are helping to grow that, and hopefully be able to do some really awesome things in the coming months as we hopefully move out of the school closures, and hopefully I pray for safety and health for all of your families and for your family as well, Mr. Lawson. So thank you again for your time this afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day and a great week.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Take care.